Thanks for joining our Web 2.0 class. This is your instructor, Teresa Pelkey. So let's learn how to subscribe to a podcast. I am looking at the Palomar College Academic Technology resource page, and here's the URL. If I scroll down on the right, here we see information about the podcast that is broadcast weekly. There are 3 buttons that I could click. This first button is the generic button, and by the way, these buttons all take us to a feed because podcasts are broadcasted the same way that a blog is, with a web feed or an RSS feed. The only difference is that there are additional tags in the feed that allow the multimedia to be updated and describe the multimedia. Now, just like we had the ability to subscribe to our blogs using the aggregator. We had like a little icon for blog lines or a little icon for My Yahoo. Well, there are web-based podcatchers, and there are also our most popular desktop podcatcher, which is iTunes. So this would open up iTunes and automatically subscribe for me, and this would take me to My Yahoo and subscribe for me. Now, and by the way, when I put my cursor over these links, you can see in the status bar the URL of where we're going. So that's the address of Yahoo, and here's the URL for iTunes, and you need to have an iTunes account to set this URL up. Now, when I put my cursor over this icon, this is taking me to the raw XML file, and you can see that in the status bar. So if I click here, it allows me to subscribe in the browser, just like we could with our blogs. So if I look at the source code, here we have our XML document. Here's our RSS version 2. And notice that we have some additional tags here, some custom iTunes tags that are specifically for iTunes. Okay. All right. So you will have some kind of an icon, or here's the address, and you can copy the address and paste it in your podcatching software. So you subscribe to a podcast virtually the same way that you subscribe to a blog. You paste the URL, or you automatically have it subscribed in the reader, or in this case, they're called podcatchers. Okay, let me take a look here at iTunes. Now, if I go to the advanced setting, here's subscribe to podcast. I could paste the URL right here to subscribe to the podcast if it does not automatically allow you to subscribe using iTunes. So this is how we would copy the URL. For example, here we can copy this URL. I can right click. Here we go, come on. And copy. And I can right click and paste, except that I already have it there. Okay, so when you open up iTunes, here's the menu bar on your left. You obviously want to go to the podcasts, and you will see a list of all the podcasts that you have subscribed to, and they have these little diamond indicators here, and when you click, they expand to see. Now, sometimes when you subscribe to a podcast, and here we are with the Palomar Academic Technology podcast here, okay, and the time of the first one, the release date, and the description. So here's our description over here, Academic Technology at Palomar. Okay, when I expand this podcast, when you subscribe, you will get the first update. So you have to be patient and let it download. Here's the first update. Now, it will also give you the ability to get the other updates. It does not download them, but you do get this little get button here, or get all, which means that by clicking on the individual button, you can allow that episode to download. And you will see the little orange thing means it's downloading, and over here it will caution you that we have a download. And if you would like to stop it, we can just stop it right here. Okay. How do we listen to these? All right, we just click, and this is the image that we have programmed in our code. Okay, if I double click, okay, here we are. You see the little audio sign there? Okay, there it is. And up here we have our podcast coming in. Okay, so it gives you and all this information is coming out of the RSS file. So when you set up your podcast, you will be coding in titles and authors and things like that. And for each episode, there will be different XML tags to describe those episodes, which will be appearing to the user up here. Now, should I choose to subscribe in my browser, or actually you can subscribe in any blog reader, what will happen is you will see the text, which you won't see in iTunes. You will still see the text. The only difference is that the file will come in as an attachment. So you would need to click on that file and then have a program on your computer to play that back. And now if I were to click on it, it would automatically load iTunes because I have iTunes here. But here we see my feeds icon. I'm in my browser, and here I have blogs, plus I have podcasts. So you can actually use the same software. You could actually subscribe to this using blog lines, and it would come in looking like this. You would just see the link to the MP3 file. Whereas in the podcatcher software, it's built in so that it plays right there for you. Now here I am in blog lines, so let's take a look at how our podcast would look in a blog reader. Here I am with my feeds tab. I will add. Here I will paste the feed, and I will subscribe to it. Okay, here it comes in the title and the description, and here's the feed address. I'll just say okay. I'll take all the defaults. Here we go. Okay, and it looks exactly like it does in the browser. We see text, but here's our audio right here. We actually have to click on, and you can see in the status bar that I am pointing to an MP3 file that we would have to actually play externally. So the advantage of using iTunes is that it plays right there. You're not like opening two different applications, but either way it still works. So you can use a blog feed reader to bring in your podcast. And actually, the tags are what are called, the XML tags are what are called enclosure tags that actually have the link to the audio or video file. And actually, you can do both. Your blog can contain an audio or video, and you can have a blog and a podcast, one and the same. The only difference is that if they were to play the multimedia file in iTunes, you would get the multimedia file. You would not have the text. So the blog reader would allow the text to be visible, plus it would link to the multimedia, whereas the podcast catching software would focus on the multimedia.